with you being a huge Resident Evil fan, I really want to get your take on this. So this is Resident Evil 8 will release in 2021, features significant thematic departures, report says. So this is from IGN, they have the details. Joseph Noop has the article here. So a first-person Resident Evil 8 will release sometime in 2021 for current and next-gen consoles and will feature more serious departures from mainline series, according to a new report from Video Game Chronicle. Now, to jump out of the article, we did cover some rumors. We talked about them. It was maybe less than like a month or 2 months ago. There was these rumors that Resident Evil 8 would go back to like a European setting with castles. Some kind of witch lady was involved too. But I do remember us kind of touching on that. So this rumor goes back to that. Apparently, some of those things might be true, or at least are linked to that same rumor there. But let me find my article. I just jumped around. All right, so VGC reports that they have verified the information provided by known Resident Evil leaker Dusk Golem on Twitter. Golem stated on Twitter that Resident Evil 8 was previously a third Resident Evil Revelations game, which transitioned to a mainline title after positive feedback, and that it will feature new mechanics and themes like insanity, hallucinations, occultism, and not being able to trust others. Golem's internal sources appear to be playtesters or Capcom Ambassador program members, basically fans who act as playtesters and possibly influencers. Golem also stated that the gameplay sequence of Resident Evil 8 had been leaked to him, featuring a sequence where you're in a village with multiple routes trying to make your way to a castle, being attacked by beastmen, zombies in armor with swords, and a witch that laughs a lot. According to VGC, it will again feature Resident Evil 7 protagonist Ethan Winters. If true, this would make Resident Evil 8 the third RE game to release in 3 consecutive years. A report earlier this year also indicated that RE8 would be first person and touched some of the details this report mentions again, including the addition of werewolves and witches to Resident Evil's repertoire of monsters. Callum, how do you feel about this direction? If this is a on the nose rumor.
Just quickly, is that Resident Evil 8 village thing? Is that been squashed as not true, or is that sort of combined with this as well?
I think it's combined, yeah. So that's still in that rumor group of rumors there, the village, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it sounds, I mean, if it's true, it sounds cool. Sounds kind of, I mean, the whole talk of villages and, weird cults and things reminds me a lot of Resident Evil 4. So that's quite cool. It's quite a cool sort of mood. And wasn't it? There's something about Chris Redfield being in it as well from the other Resident Evil games.
So it's possible that's another rumor.
So many rumors,
right? Because this one says it's continuing that protagonist from 7, but I know Chris Redfield shows up at the end of 7, right?
Yeah.
And then he has his own DLC within 7, so
sure.
I wouldn't doubt them, just running into each other. What do you feel about returning to Europe, and then this idea of these new characters like witches and zombie, or is not zombie but like werewolf characters?
Yeah, I think that's cool. I think like we said last week, that this is the whole sort of remake thing that's now happened has allowed Capcom to sort of treat Resident Evil 8 with maybe a bit more. They can probably come away a little bit from the real roots of the series, which they already did with 7, but I think this gives them like completely free pass because they're remaking these games. So the roots are still there in those games. But I think it's cool that they're experimenting with these kind of monsters. I mean, Resident Evil's always had crazy, weird monsters and things aside from zombies. And I think it all fits the sort of vibe. And yeah, it sounds cool from the rumors. I'm interested to see sort of how they bring Ethan Winters back into it. He's a very sort of different protagonist to me, because the protagonists in Resident Evil tend to be like a special force,
right.
Special police department kind of thing. And I think it was him that lent Resident Evil 7 this more horror film-esque feel, whereas the other Resident Evils are very much that you're well-trained characters in these like horrible situations. I think it'd be interesting to see how he's like changed since 7. I need to play 7 again. I've only gone through it once, and that was when it first came out. So I need to go through 7 again. So I can't really remember too much about him, but I'm excited to see see what it is. I just hope it's not called Resident Evil Village, because that is just such a horrendous name. But,
I didn't mind that one. I guess because they're really trying to, in that leaked GIF or image shows them kind of like counterimposing the Resident Evil like numerals or like Roman numerals within the village name. Like I wonder if that's the reason why they went that route. But
I think they're just trying to be really smart, aren't they? Because they had the Resident Evil 7 with the V, which is really cool. And now I think they should just accept that they're not going to get VIII in this title. They should just call it Resident Evil 8.
They're trying.
Or whatever. They are trying really hard, and and it's obvious as well.
It's very similar to the final or the Fast and Furious franchise, where it's like Fast 8 and Furious 8. Like they're really trying to just make sure like it works into the title. But
I think Resident Evil's got enough punching power to just call it.
Yeah.
I mean, even on that same sort of note, they could call it Resident Evil 8 Village, and I suppose no one would mind because it's still a Resident Evil game. But I just don't think Village is that necessary, and it's kind of like it's a weird like kind of word to put in a title, because it's like just the name of like a generic like location.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't actually work when you think about it for more than 2 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's some like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just not too keen on that. But I mean, that's a very minor thing, and if it's real, I'm sure the game will sort of make you forget about that straight away.
How do you feel about the idea of adding these other mechanics like not trusting people or hallucinating? It seems like that's a different kind of Resident Evil mechanic. I wonder how that would affect gameplay. This other like meter that you're controlling, like paranoia or something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. If they'll put it in from a mechanical standpoint, that could be quite cool. Could it definitely add to the horror aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, this definitely sounds like that they're sticking to that horror, and they're not, taking the usual sort of route that Resident Evil games end up taking, where it just gets more action orientated. But yeah, that could be quite cool. It's they're sort of they're definitely themes that aren't really used in Resident Evil. So yeah, but it could definitely be an interesting new direction.
Although the idea of not being able to trust someone, that's more of like a story-based thing where you kind of experience that, your character experiences through the story, and they don't really give you a visible meter that you control, if that's what they're kind of explaining here. But I mean, they're concepts within the story often, but it's just not something that you don't press X to not trust someone kind of thing. It's kind of a weird idea. But I mean, the one thing I do like a lot about this is that, I mean, it's a really minor thing, but where he says it's like a village of multiple routes trying to make your way to a castle. I think that's that sounds like a good sort of thing for Resident Evil to do, to give you these different routes to try and sort of entice you to try different ways, and again, it adds to that replayability. Once you've finished it once, you then know which route goes where, or you might have gone down a certain route the first time, and gives you that other route for the next time. So it's I mean, like you're saying, it's rumours at the moment, and it's a very small amount of information so far, but it sounded good. It's a good start. Yeah, I also think with some of these rumors, the way they kind of change some of the gameplay, they're taking these chances. That's still in line with what Capcom's been doing with Resident Evil, and I kind of commend them playing these remakes, playing Resident Evil 7. They haven't let this property die. Like, they've been really trying to figure out, okay, we started to fuck it up with 5 and 6, even though they're different interpretations or whatever. But they're really trying to get it back to what the roots are, and then still trying to innovate though too. Like, you can't kind of rest on your laurels. You have to still move forward with changing things, seeing what else works with the property.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's where they've been so clever, is they've now got the future Resident Evil mainline games for the innovation, and then to keep all the old school fans happy that maybe don't like the new directions, they're remaking the older ones as well. And so I think that it's sort of a win-win for them. They're going to please new audiences and people who accept and appreciate innovation. But then for the more sort of set in their ways Resident Evil fans, they've got their games as well. So everyone's got what they want from Resident Evil. So I suppose it just keeps it in a positive limelight, no matter what.
Yeah, it's a great tightrope walk they've done, because it's such a big property, and they've managed to keep it fresh and still at the top of like game of the year discussions, and with doing that, with using that RE engine, it just makes everything look so beautiful and run really well. Like they're really on top of their game right now.
Yeah.
Nice, Callum. Well, we'll see what happens with that. We have some more Resident Evil discussions we'll have in a bit here. The next one was really just a kick in the balls, man. This one sucked.